So in the NFC playoffs, you've got your contenders, and then you've got a team that looks like they're playing on a whole other level. And that's what we're here to do today. Break down the anatomy of that team, the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to get into exactly what makes them the undisputed team to beat.
Okay, it all starts with this number right here, 41-6. And listen, that wasn't just some final score against the 49ers in the divisional round. No, that was a demolition. It was a statement sent to the entire league that the Seahawks aren't just here to compete, they are here to absolutely dominate.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll talk about why Seattle is basically the final boss of the NFC. Then, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of that 49ers demolition. After that, we'll take a peek at who's next on their list before we ask the big question. Is this team actually destined for a championship?
Let's dive right into Section 1, the NFC's final boss. And the thing is, this dominance, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Man, they've been building to this point all season long.
You know what's crazy is that even before that blowout win, the Seahawks were already the favorites to win the whole shebang. Vegas, the analysts, they all saw what was coming. But that 41-6 beatdown, that game right there, it took any last shred of doubt and just erased it. Their spot as the team to beat is more secure than ever.
And look, this is why everyone believes in them. A 15-3 record. You just don't see that kind of consistency in the NFL. It's so rare. And it tells you that this is a team that knows how to win, no matter the situation. It really sets the stage perfectly for a deep playoff run.
Okay, so now for Section 2, the anatomy of a demolition. Seriously, to get a real feel for how dominant this team is, we've got to break down that game against the 49ers. You have to see the sheer force we're talking about here.
And you can really see it happen in 3 clear phases. It kicked off with this opening shockwave, it was held down by a suffocating defense, and then it was just finished off by a brutal second-half onslaught. And I mean, when I say it started instantly, I mean instantly. The game literally kicks off and boom, Rashid Shaheed takes it 95 yards to the house. The energy in Lumen Field must have been insane. Before the 49ers offense could even step on the field, they were already down. What a way to start a game.
Okay, now look at this, because this chart tells a huge part of the story. The defense was just suffocating. They forced 3 huge turnovers that completely shut down anything the 49ers are trying to do. But flip that coin over, and this is what's really key. Seattle committed 0 turnovers. That turnover battle, that's almost always what decides a playoff game. That's how you take control.
And then you get to that second half onslaught I was talking about. The offense just took complete control, and it was all thanks to running back Kenneth Walker. The man was a machine. He punched in not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdowns just in the second half. The 49ers defense they had absolutely no answer for it.
So here's the thing, and this might be the most terrifying part for every other team left in the playoffs. The Seahawks put up 41 points, and they did it without their star QB, Sam Darnold, having some monster game. He only had 12 completions, and their top receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba, only 3 catches. They won by just pounding the rock, almost 200 yards on the ground, and letting their defense feast. This team doesn't need its stars to have career days to completely blow you out of the water. Think about that.
All right, so that brings us to Section 3, the next opponent. I mean, after a win like that, who's the next team that has to go into Lumen Field and face this buzzsaw for the NFC title?
Well, if you look at the early betting lines, the story is pretty clear. It really doesn't matter who comes to town, whether it's the Rams or the Bears, Seattle is going to be the favorite. They're favored by 1.5 against their rivals, the Rams, and by a whopping 5.5 points against Chicago.
And hey, if you need any more proof, just listen to this. When Tom Brady, arguably the GOAT, calls it a Herculean task for anyone to win in Seattle, yeah, you probably ought to listen. He basically says that whoever they play, they better pray the Seahawks have an off day. Because if Seattle plays its A game, well, the outcome feels pretty much decided.
But let's look back at the regular season for a second, because it shows they can be challenged. They actually split 2 games with the Rams, and both were nail-biters. And their game against the Bears, it was a low-scoring 6-3 slugfest. So what this tells us is that even though they're dominant, they're not invincible. And you can bet they know that both of these teams can hang with them and keep it close.
And that's what brings us to our final section here. And really, the ultimate question, is this a championship in the making? I mean, are the Seahawks actually destined for the Super Bowl?
The real key to their success, and the reason so many people are saying yes to that question, is what we saw against San Francisco. It was a completely comprehensive performance.
You had that explosive touchdown on special teams to start things off. You had a defense that was creating turnovers and just crushing the opponent's will. And you had an offense that just controlled the entire game on the ground. When you're firing on all cylinders like that, all three phases, you are just so hard to beat.
So I'll just leave you with this question. We've seen this team win with their offense, with their defense, and with their special teams. A lot of times all in the same game. So the question isn't just, hey, can they win the Super Bowl? The real question is, with this level of all-around dominance, are the Seahawks, right now, simply unbeatable?